And apparently, according to the story, which is again linked to our Apollo page, to the PDF that was written by the astronomer at Parkes Observatory, who's been spearheading the effort to find them, who was part of the original team that recorded them on magnetic tape in Australia for us and for posterity.
Right.
He has been looking and looking since apparently '84, and he's written his whole story up. It's there on the web. It's linked both on our site. It's also linked on the TV49 site in D.C. If somebody who happens to have a computer, comes by the station, it's an amazing story because the trail ends when Goddard apparently asked the National Archive to send these 700 boxes of original NASA Apollo 11 data back to Goddard from the archive where they had been kept up until 1984, from 69 to 84. And these boxes leave and are signed out of the National Archive.
Okay, so they were there.
Yes.
Okay.
And they never arrived at Goddard. There is no written record
that
of
they showed
anybody who received them.
So who was the one carting them around?
The guy who did sign for them, who's now dead, has left no paper trail as to where they were stored.
Oh, my.
And, I'm hoping that this incredible audience, which, as you know, is the smartest audience in radio.
Yes, they are.
Know people who know people who know people who know someone who knows where these tapes are. And it's one of these things where if you send us an email and you say they're in such and such a locker or, that kind of thing, it's no blame, no shame here. All we want, all the people at NASA, all the Goddard guys, all the NBC people, CBS people, ABC people who were part of this whole incredible story back then, all we want is and I'm talking on behalf of all Americans, all our tapes back.
But we don't know where they are anymore.
We don't know where they are. And so what we were hoping was that by simulcasting this program tonight on this incredibly innovative and pioneering TV station, TV49 there in D.C., that we could get some political clout and we could get some noise in the media, mainstream media like the Washington Post, the New York Times, CBS, NBC, Fox, CNN, whatever, to basically go and knock on Mike Griffin's door.
That's Freudian there, Richard.
Well, it's another discussion for later in the evening.
Yes.
Mike Griffin's door, who is now the NASA administrator, who is going to us and to the Congress with a perfectly straight face and asking for billions of dollars, George, to go back to the moon. Now, why would we give Michael the money to do that if they can't protect the information that we got the first time around?
That's crazy. What would you be doing right now, for example, if all the Viking pictures of Cydonia were just gone?
We'd be dead in the water.
Yeah.
We could never prove anything that we claimed was official because the key now in the Internet age is that we post pictures. We have links to the original documents and examples of those images in the official NASA archive.
I think we crashed your site again, by the way.
That's why television is handy, because you can't crash TV. So everybody in the D.C. area who's listening to us, did I understand correctly that WMAL is off the air tonight?
I don't know if they're doing transmitter work tonight or not. I got a couple fast blasts from some people who listen regularly to WMAL AM in D.C., and they said that they were hearing some sporadic static. So, and every once in a while, a station will do a little transmitter maintenance. So I don't know if it's tonight totally or just for an hour or two. I don't know. So if anybody's out there in Fast Blast land and you're listening to us on WMAL, my favorite station in Washington, D.C., just send me a little message and let me know if that transmitter maintenance has been taken care of.
Well, TV49 has been doing promos all day for WMAL in our broadcast tonight.
Great.
Because the idea is to get a squeeze play going here. At the top of the Enterprise website, you will find an email link, which is Dr. Michael Griffin's formal NASA headquarters email address. If anybody out there is upset as I am, having worked on this, shoulder to shoulder with Walter Cronkite, and find it unconscionable that we can lose this priceless heritage. You only land on the moon for the first time once, right? And the idea that we can't ever see the real quality of those images and maybe some interesting things that those cameras recorded because someone either deliberately stole these boxes or put them in some black vault somewhere, because they don't think we should ever see them, or just rip them off because they want to make a buck on eBay.
Yeah, or sold them to some collector, some rich collector,
some private collector. I mean, there's a great Star Trek where they steal Data,
yeah,
and put him in this room with all these other one of a kind things. Can you imagine if there is some guy, some multi-billionaire somewhere who is showing through his computer technology the original landing tapes from Apollo 11?
And he owns them.
And he's got them, and he brings in certain of his cronies, and they sit there, and they ooh and they ah, and he knows that they're the only ones that exist on the entire... I mean, this is an outrage.
And let me correct that. He doesn't own them. We do.
We own them, and he's just stolen them.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's several possible scenarios. It's almost irrelevant which scenario is right. The fact is, these boxes, 698 out of 700, are missing.
It should be an FBI investigation.
There absolutely should. And so Channel 49 is tomorrow morning going to ask Mike Griffin on camera, what are you doing to find them? And what I am doing with this audience is saying that somewhere out there tonight, someone, George, knows more about this than we know now.
No question about it.
And as patriotic Americans, they are going to let us know so we can get back what is our combined mutual heritage of a priceless moment that, as you heard earlier tonight, Buzz Aldrin still remembers vividly every single moment of that undefinable experience, and we don't get to share it with him because we can't get our own tape.
Lunar artifacts. You know, today I was recording the portion of my audiobook, Worker in the Light, and man, what a long, tedious job that is. I've got to do about 7 more hours of it tomorrow. I hope my voice holds up. But I was into the segment where we've written about Ingo Swann, his book Penetration, and some of the things that he remote viewed on the moon. I want your thoughts on lunar artifacts and what you think.
Well, if you scroll down on the Enterprise page, or you're looking in D.C. at TV 49, you will see under the last composite comparison from the scan-converted broadcast image versus the Polaroid of the raw images.
Okay.
You see that?
Yep.
There's this kind of vertical shot showing the moon at the bottom and this fuzzy stuff up above it.
Yep.
That is a Hasselblad Apollo shot taken on Apollo 10, which was the precursor mission to Apollo 11, which basically, was the forerunner, the kind of test of all the systems before they actually committed to the landing on Apollo 11. That was taken out the window, crossing the center of the moon, a region called Sinus Medi. Now, do you see that spindly kind of architectural-looking stuff like a skyscraper sticking up?
Sticking out of nowhere. It's just right in the middle.
That is in front of the lunar module windows, above the moon, kind of parallel to the height of their lunar orbit.
What is that?
It is, I believe, and we have close-ups. You know, if you click on the image, you go to a much bigger version you can then download into, like a Photoshop program and look at it in detail. That appears to be a glass ruin of something that was much more refined and much more polished and is now moth-eaten and full of holes from meteorite bombardment.
How tall is it?
It's miles tall. It's at least 10, 15 miles tall.
Does this picture show up anyplace else anymore?
Oh, yeah.
It does.
Well, we have a whole section on the Enterprise website based around the lunar conference I held at the National Press Club in 1996, where we have tons of these kinds of pictures.
So these haven't disappeared?
Oh, no. These have not. Well, because they kind of can't, because in 1996 we made a huge fuss at the National Press Club in front of the National Press. And so there's kind of a record, a paper trail of that these exist in the archive, and if they disappeared, everybody would kind of say, oh, my God, what's going on here?
Okay, that can't be some kind of anomaly on the camera.
Oh, no, because we have more than one set of pictures. I had a very limited time to put these up. For instance, the one, if you go to the picture below that, all right, you see the one where it says 1967 Lunar Orbiter 3?
Right.
That is a unmanned shot from the Lunar Orbiter series that was the precursor to Apollo. Unmanned spacecraft built by the Langley Research Center south of Washington there in Virginia, sent to the moon, 5 spacecraft loaded with film. They took pictures. They basically then scanned and developed the film in the spacecraft in orbit. It was a Kodak process called BIMAT, which is